Thank you. Trying to get the feeling back in my face from being outside. No, I'm just obviously delighted, excited to be sitting here. Really excited about being at Mississippi State. Want to thank Dan and Megan, and their relationship really meant a lot. Scott Strickland, just the people. The more you're in this profession, you realize that you win with people, and the people that were here, who I really had always maintained a relationship with, were a big part in getting this thing done. I also have to make sure I also thank Skip Holtz, Howie McClellan, and Dr. Geis at Louisiana Tech. This is I'm probably coming off of one of the most gratifying and fulfilling years of coaching that I've had. We had a really special team this past year at Louisiana Tech, and the players there did an outstanding job defensively, and we really had a special season. And it's always fun to go. It's always hard to leave in this profession. I left behind some really, really good people and really good players there at Louisiana Tech. But that being said, I don't look at this as a going back. I look at this as a going forward. I know I'm a much better coach today than I was when I was here 4 years ago. Mississippi State's a very different place today. This football program is a much different place today than it was 4 years ago. I have always felt a sense of pride in the the continued sort of steps that Dan and the program have taken in the time I've been gone. Cumulating all the way this year with being ranked #1 in the country, because you always felt a little bit of pride in terms of having a hand in kind of getting it going in that direction. So a lot of the players who this year's class were the fifth-year seniors, would have been guys that redshirted when I was here, and just seeing those guys have a great year like they did this year, winning 10 games from afar was neat to see. So like I said, it's a different dynamic. I look at this as going forward, not going backwards, and really just anxious to get to see all the players when they come back from school and get started.
Have you had a chance to look at the building last year or get an idea of the personnel you have? I
have. We've actually jumped right into it. We've been, as a defensive staff, we've been in our meeting room going through cut-ups all day yesterday and all day today. So, and obviously, Jeff and I have known each other for a long time. Jeff and I have known each other way before anybody cared who Jeff and Manny were. I think he was at Western Carolina and I was at NC State just getting started. And we've always maintained a great relationship. I was very excited for Jeff when he came here, and certainly obviously have the utmost respect for the job he did defensively this year. So, but as I think defense is a culture. I think the culture that Dan Mullen has instilled here will always breed playing outstanding defense. It's #1 on the plan to win, and everyone in this program that comes to this program understands that the first way you win football games is that you must play great defense. It's not a suggestion; it's an expectation, and that's an expectation that will continue regardless of who's the defensive coordinator. I'm happy to be in charge and make sure that happens.
Manny, you said you're a different coach than you were 4 years ago. Obviously, some good things happened during your time away, and some not so good things happened. How are you different? What's changed with you?
So many things change. I think just through experience. It can be tactically, in terms of how the scheme evolves over time. It can be, like all of us in any profession, just how you learn from experience. Understand sometimes the experiences of life, it cements what you really know matters and is important for success. And then any time in this profession that you're able to rub elbows with other people and be other places and be exposed to different ideas, go up against different styles of offense, that obviously grows you as a coach. So there's no doubt that when you had a chance to put it all together again and get it going and really kind of install the latest version of this defense this past year at Louisiana Tech, and then to be able to have the year we did and have it look the way that you want it to look, in terms of leading the nation in turnovers, second in the nation in tackles for loss, first in points off turnovers. But the stat that I'm probably most proud of is we led the nation in field position for our offense. Our offense at Louisiana Tech had the #1 field position advantage of anyone in the country. And that's my main goal here. What I've got to do is I've got to get the ball back for Dak Prescott. I mean, it's realistically what we're trying to accomplish. We've got an offense that I think is that's really exciting, that's got some exciting players on it. And you win football games by giving them the football as close to the opponent's goal line as you possibly can. And when you do that, that's part of the plan to win, and that's how one side complements the other.
Do you anticipate any staff changes on the defensive side of the football now that you're here?
I don't think so. No, I mean we've like I said, we've already kind of jumped right in, and I think it's an outstanding staff of guys. Shay, David, and of course Tony, who I was with the time before. Really, really good coaches, but also really good people. You know, and I think that again, the more the more you're around this, that really matters. You know, because this is a hard job. You know, in terms of what we do, and you have got to have people that you trust and respect. You've got to have everybody pointing the same direction, and we all got to be singing out of the same hymn book. And the greatest thing about college football, there are so many ways to win. You can be so many different styles. There's so many ways to do it, and you watch it every year. There's vastly different styles of team that can win. But you have got to be committed to who you are. And the teams that try to be a little bit of everything, the teams that are not fully committed, they're the ones you can't put a finger on why they struggle, but they just do. So those are really good guys, and we're getting on the same page right now in terms of you know, what we've done. There are things terminology-wise that have not changed from what we installed here 4 years ago. So there'll be a comfort sense for the players, where there'll be some things that, you know, when they walk back on Monday, that, you know, it'll sound just the same as it was, you know, when they left last month. So
how quick did you and Dan kind of start talking about this opening, and when did you kind of sit down and able to talk more with them?
It really happened pretty quickly. I would say the end of last week is really when the first you know, legitimate conversation happened. Of course, with the bowl game being on the 31st, and then Sunday is the day that, you know, we sort of you know, sat down and, you know, talked it out. You know, and like I said, you know, Dan's a guy that personally I like and respect, and then professionally, I think we also wanted to sit down and just talk a little bit about how, you know, what I mentioned, how we're not the same people we were 4 years ago. It's amazing, you know, we were just, you know, remarking today just how fast, it doesn't seem like it's been a long time, you know, and all of a sudden you start comparing the ages of your kids, and time, man, none of us have aged a bit, but man, those kids have, you know what I mean, and time, it does fly. So I think part of it was just us getting together and just kind of talking a little bit about where we were professionally, you know, and you know, how we viewed the world and where our expectations were.
Dan has kind of run through some defensive coordinators during his tenure, but you and him, even from the first time, seemed to get along pretty well. Why do you think you and him work so well together?
I think in a lot of ways, I think we see the game the same way. I think Dan's a guy that's always tried to challenge the establishment of, you know, what is there a better way to do it? Dan wants everything that we do as a program to be well thought out. You know, he knows that, you know, preparation is where confidence comes from, and, you know, we can't just be haphazard and just, you know, throw things on the wall and hope that it sticks. So I enjoy working for him because he challenges me. He challenges me intellectually. You know what I mean? You always want to make sure that what you're doing is sound. You know what I mean? And I think in some ways I think I can do the same thing for him. You know what I mean? And I just enjoy practicing against one another. You know, and going about it to where you know, where sort of iron sharpens iron.
How much have things changed at Mississippi State facility-wise since you last left?
Well, that's another reason why it's just amazing, the difference. Just walking through that building was, you know, it was a dream when I was here. It might have been a drawing. I remember it just somewhere maybe becoming, the idea of it becoming real, but a shovel wasn't even close to touching the ground. And I didn't walk through that building until Sunday. I hadn't seen it until Sunday. So getting a chance to see that, getting a chance to see the renovations at the stadium, I mean, that's a different looking place. I mean, I can't. The depressing thing for me is we have to wait 8 more months to get in there and play. But just listen to the guys talk that that have been here, for, kind of for the long haul, and talk about the difference in the atmosphere in the stadium now. With that one end closed off, it's dramatic, and that building now that's a game changer. I mean, the way that you recruit, the whole level of expectation in terms of with our players having as fine a facility as there is in the country, that's a big deal. There was something missing in it though. When I was here in the past, we had an older building, but there was something in that building every day I was here that's not in this building. So I'm going to go find it, and go get it back.
When will you sit down and kind of start talking to your guys? I'll be able to do that.
The players, they'll all be coming back in town here over the next, really next couple days. So we're in a situation now where, because this week the school's out and we're dead in recruiting, but they'll all be coming back in. Our national convention starts this weekend, and then we kind of hit the road, as you know, after that. So it's always a little bit tough in the month of January because sometimes we're gone more than we're here. But I'll try to at least get in front of all those guys and communicate with them, and begin that relationship and try to start to earn their trust.
When you see some of the players that are guaranteed to come back, with Chris Jones, Benitez, Brown, as a coach, what kind of goes through your mind, and the kind of the schemes and the stuff you can kind of set up, just thinking of that type of talent that comes back?
Well, this is still it's a player development job, and so the first thing you want to do is you want to get those guys in. I'm first and foremost looking forward to seeing how they work in our off-season program, and then you'll go watch them in the spring. The first thing they have to do, regardless of who's coaching them, they have to be better than they were a year ago. For any team to be successful, it's a big push for your players, especially your better players, to continue to improve. That's what really great players are all obsessed with, just constant improvement. After that, and then you've got a chance to go through spring practice, see the guys in the summer, then you can start to say, this is what this guy does really well. And certainly we've always tried to be multiple enough defensively to try to cater to the strengths of the players to put them in the best position to succeed.
How much will you, obviously, going to different places, knowing that the first year it's difficult like that, you're trying to grasp, how much do you take from the players' input as well as what works well for them or what works well as a defense, since they kind of ran on the field last year together?
Right. Well, you'll take from their input in terms of the input they'll show is what they do in practice and where they're productive. Okay. If you let them all vote, you get 11 different votes. They couldn't decide on what to have on a piece of pizza, let alone what to run defensively. But they know, like I said, the core of who we are won't change dramatically. They know we're going to be aggressive. They know we're going to be about hunting the negative play. They know that we're going to be trying to force the offense into making mistakes. And it's a relentless level of attack. And I have not been around a player that doesn't enjoy doing that. And as you know, we still play in the Southeastern Conference, in the Western Division, and no one will have any sympathy for us having to learn something in year one. So very similar to coming here the time before, the expectation is that we've got to have this thing battle ready by the time the foot hits the ball in August and September.
You mentioned similar to the time before. You stepped into a situation 4 years ago with a lot of guys who were going to be good. They were just getting ready to be good. Do you see any kind of similarities this year?
I don't know if I know the guys enough really yet to understand that. Obviously, the expectation levels changed for a good thing. I mean, in the transition between 09 and 10, we were trying to learn what it was all about, and and even as the year was going on, that year, because that was a very special year, very rewarding year to coach on that team, but you still didn't know. We were learning what it took to kind of get over that hump, but now, now what you see what they've done since then, and where the players' level of expectation for their performance has changed, and that'll be the thing coming as a coach, is to continue to push that and say what we have done is outstanding. The thing is, the 10 wins are all a race now, and just like everybody else, we're starting on 0, and we have got to. And we're in a league where the way people get after each other is second to none. So we have got to attack this thing and really raise our expectations. I mean, as high as it's been, our standards have to go to be beyond. We have to be better. If we're the same as we were last year, we're not going to get the same result. We're going to be worse. So we've got to find a way to get better with what we have coming back.
Within minutes of Jeff Collins leaving for Florida, Jonathan Banks took to Twitter and advocated for your return. There were some other players that kind of endorsed you coming back here. Were you aware of that, and what does that mean to you as a coach?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously that's the guys that matter are the guys in the locker room. You know what I mean? And guys like Jonathan and some of the other guys are, you know, you've been able to keep in touch with, even since I've been gone. Certainly Chris and KJ. But that, you know, that's what you want, because you really want these guys. And this is, you know, this is going to sound like coach, you know, just sort of sappy stuff, but you're doing a lot more with these guys than, you know, kill the man with the ball. You know, I mean, this is something where a lot of times you're really trying to change their level of expectation for how they view themselves in their life. You know what I mean, going forward, and you're trying to teach them things, because in reality, what makes you a good defensive football player is going to make you a good father and a good husband one day. The lessons are all the same, and I think when the players get that that's what you're in it for, and you're in it, you know, legitimately for the betterment of their self, you know, that's where you can have a long-term relationship with those guys. And it's not just, and that's just not with the players that I've coached here at Mississippi State, even in my past stops, having the ability to kind of keep up with those guys. It was good to hear, you know, it was good to hear what Jonathan said. I appreciate him saying that. I think back to some fun memories that we had back in 2010. But now that's the same level of trust that we've got to build now, because anytime a coach does leave, and I get it, and I've been on both sides, as you all know, anytime a coach leaves, it's a little bit awkward for the players, you know. I mean, there's that kind of strange feeling, and I get it. But we got to get over that quick. We got to kind of learn who we are, what we're all about, and get rolling.
You mentioned guys like KJ, Chris, Banks, a lot of NFL talent is on that team. You're here. A little bit you've been able to see on tape. Where's kind of the talent maybe stack up to that year?
I think it would be unfair to say that for a couple different reasons. One, you know, as a coach, you're never, you know, necessarily always for sure what they were asked to do. You don't want to make assumptions based off of you know, what they look like just on tape. You really want to get them on the grass and go find out what you really have. Second, how would you have made that assumption watching the 09 defense on tape? Because probably the performance of, if you look at Chris and KJ's, for example, use them as an example, their production from their junior year to their senior year was night and day, to the point where it might have gotten to, you know, vaulted them up a couple of, you know, rounds in the draft, and then they're well aware of that. So the expectation for our players that they have got to play better than they played last year. It's just the only way it works. It's the only way to be a great college football team. So, so like I said, I think when the year's over, you know, then it's more fair to maybe compare errors and times. But right now, I know certainly the recruiting efforts here have been going well for a while. We've got guys that are in our program. There's certainly a lot of very talented players that are leaving us, that are walking out the door. Like I mentioned, because at my house, when we had an opportunity, we'd watch Mississippi State. Because I enjoy watching guys. I tell my kids, yeah, remember he was a redshirt the year we were there. Golly, look at that guy make a play, you know. But that means it's a lot of reps. You know, when fifth-year seniors walk out the door, that's a lot of, those guys have been under the squat rack going up and down a lot of times over 5 years. They've been on the field, you know, coached on their footwork a lot of times, and when they graduate, all those reps go away. So there'll be some big shoes to replace, but that's the nature of college football.
As you try to figure out what you have, and you talk about watching film, and you won't be able to see them until a couple months in the spring. What are you looking for? I guess what jumps out on film that translates to the actual playing, rather than some other things that may not translate well from film to actual playing?
The first thing you look for is effort, which you know in a Dan Mullen program with the strength staff that's here, there's going to be a relentless effort. And of course, and Jeff and those guys did a great job of coaching that. What I look for is I look for toughness. I look for who runs to contact as opposed to who runs through contact. And one of the things that I really love about coaching the kids that are usually in our recruiting radius, I would say, is the kids we get here, they run through contact. And I know that every defensive call works better when you have a defense that runs through contact instead of running to contact. So that you're getting a feel for that. You're getting a feel for you know, the physicality of some guys. You're getting a feel for just, you know, how they play in space, how they tackle, how they shed blocks. Maybe some you know, change of direction things, you know, like that. But then, like I said, you still, the mistake you make coming in new is if you start making assessments of people based off what you've seen. Because you really don't know. You don't know what their state of mind was at that point. And you want to give everybody a fresh start because, like I said, the first thing we have to impress upon them is that they all have to improve anyway. No matter what they did on film and no matter how good it is, it's got to be better.